Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions at the open meeting law, paragraph A, chapter 20, and the governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Harwich Board of Health is being conducted via remote participation. No person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in the order. Okay. I have the, okay. I now call the meeting to order.
Okay, well, you can start with reviewing the minutes if you'd like.
I have the wrong thing here. Just a second. Please, I'm sorry. Last time too.
That's okay.
Oh, I have Fridays. Okay. Yes, so meetings from, we'll do I do roll call first? I should do roll call? Okay. So, Ron Dalgiallo, are you here?
Yes.
And Matthew Antoine, are you here?
I'm here.
And Kevin DuPont, are you here?
Yes.
Okay, and Sharon has an excused absence. So we're going to review the minutes of previous meetings. First one is April 20th, 2021. Do I hear any corrections or comments on that? Okay, do I hear a motion to accept the minutes from April 20th?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from April 20th.
Okay, so Ron has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
All right, Matt has seconded it. Kevin, are you in agreement?
I am.
And I'm in agreement. So meeting minutes passed. May 6th, 2021. Any comments or corrections? Can I hear a motion to accept the minutes?
Right along.
Make a motion to accept.
We're thinking about that. And
Matt has made a motion to accept. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I second the motion to accept.
Okay, I'll do Kevin DuPont as second. And Ron, are you in agreement?
Yes, I am.
And I'm in agreement. So unanimous for the meeting minutes of May 6th to pass. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I will start off the COVID-19 update just by saying that we do have a Board of Health meeting this Friday at 10 a.m. to discuss the mask mandate on Route 28 from Bank Street to Lower County Road. So we cannot discuss that provision at all this evening. It's not on the agenda, but we can definitely discuss it, obviously, on Friday. I'm sure you have all heard the governor's latest updates that he made. As of today, there are some changes to schools. Masks are no longer required outdoors. So at recess, kids can play without their masks, which is nice. Adults are still required at schools to have masks outside as well as inside. And then on May 29th, all of the existing protocols, procedures, regulations are all being lifted. So all of the sector-specific guidance for restaurants, the face covering, everything's being lifted on May 29th. And then the projected date for the end of the state of emergency is on June 15th. So it's leaving as quickly as it came. Kind of drastic, but it's nice that we're headed in the right direction. We're only we're only following one active COVID case right now, and they'll leave our tracking sometime this week. So hopefully we don't add any more, which would be nice. We do have our employee vaccination clinic, our vaccination clinic for employees in certain sectors. We have the second doses that we're giving on May 26th. So next Wednesday, we'll be giving the second doses of Moderna, which will be nice. Things are certainly moving in the right direction. Does anyone have any questions on the governor's order? Like I said, we can't discuss the Route 28 mask mandate, but we can discuss any of the changes that have occurred this week with the governor, if anyone has anything.
Did I just hear that Chatham has opened up the town without masks right now?
They did, yep. They rescinded their order.
They rescinded their order?
They did, yep. Well, that's all I have for the COVID update, which is nice.
What a change.
All right.
Yes.
Thank God.
So we
Nice
can,
to see the light at the end.
I know, it's been a long 15 months.
Yes.
So we do have that we can review in the work session. If you would like to move on to permits, you can vote on the permits before 7 o'clock.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to pass the permits listed? By somebody? Everybody's mics are off.
Can you, what was the question again?
I want a motion to pass the permits listed.
Oh, yeah, I'll make a motion to pass the permits as listed.
Okay, Matt has made a motion to pass. Do I hear a second?
I'll second it.
I will second it. Go ahead,
Ron
Ron.
has
Doesn't
seconded.
matter. Kevin can do it, doesn't matter.
Ron seconded. Kevin, are you in agreement?
I am.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm in agreement. Therefore, the permits have passed.
Great. So before we get to 7 o'clock, I had mentioned to Pam that maybe now that we don't have as many work session items, if the board to consider removing this portion of your agenda for the time being. We can always add the work sessions back in, but if you'd like to start your meetings right at 6:30 instead of having to wait until 7, we can get a consensus. We couldn't vote on it this evening, but we could get a
Yeah,
consensus.
I think it'd be a great idea.
Sure. So
It'd be a great idea.
put that on the agenda for next week. We
Yes.
do have to vote on that portion of it. We can change it to 6 or 6:30, whatever the board wants to do. We can discuss that next week.
I have a problem with 6. That's the problem.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We can.
Sorry, I'm the only one that wants it at 6 because of my work.
That's-
6:30 would be, can we just do the meeting at 6:30 instead of?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And if we do need to add on a work session, we can always do that easily as well. So
Right.
it doesn't limit you. It just changes. We won't have to wait until 7 if that's what the board decides to vote.
Exactly.
So Jen, if we could put that on the agenda, then that would be great. Because unfortunately, these other items, we can't start until 7 p.m.
Katie, so we'll have to do an email blast to our engineers because currently the abutter notices have to be read for 7 p.m. So we'll just have to make sure everything's shifted, that they read 6:30, and we'll just update our meeting schedule and filing deadlines. So that way, when we give it out, it's got the correct time on it.
Okay,
Sounds great.
great. And while we are still in this work session now, at some point, once COVID is slowed down and truly over, I would like the board to start thinking about looking at some of the regulations that we have. Some of our stable regulations are a little bit out of date, and it might be a good chance once COVID's in the rearview mirror and we can breathe and actually have a little bit of time. It might be nice to start slowly updating those as we go. They just, times have changed. I don't think they've been updated since 2008. So,
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Is there any talk about meeting in person?
So there is, we don't have an answer yet. We had a Department of Public Health statewide phone call this afternoon. And the consensus is we need to have a decision, but the state does not know what that decision is yet. And that applies to the ABCC regulations as well. So the Massachusetts Municipal Association is actually kind of spearheading that portion of it to make sure that we get an answer sooner rather than later. Because at this point, we don't know. So it would be nice to have some clarification, especially for the restaurants on the ABC side of things as well. It's definitely a priority. Some of the senators on Cape Cod are actually pushing to have the emergency order expanded past the 60 days to try to get us closer to Labor Day for the businesses down here. But that hasn't been submitted yet. We haven't received too many details on that. I think they're kind of in the panic mode of getting everything out as soon as they can right now. But hopefully by the June 15th date, we'll have some of those ducks in a row and know what to expect, so we can actually work with the businesses on whether they can stay, and obviously the selectmen, and any transitional, there might be some transitional provisions that we don't know about. So hopefully closer to the 29th, and then the 15th, the state will give us more guidance. Is there anything else that the board would like to start talking about or working on in the future? We do have the bottle ban coming up in September. Staff have certainly been working on some of the educational materials and starting to reach out to some of the bigger providers in town. So that's something that we can maybe work on with the board as well and see if they have you have any input on that. We also do have the reorganization coming up if you want to think about any changes as well. So busy summer, even though COVID's getting on the back burner.
Hopefully soon.
Yes.
Katie, do you have an update on the water stations, when those will be put in? You talked about the bottle ban.
Yeah, so I haven't actually been involved in that too much. Someone did ask me the other day, and I was looking for a little information. I haven't heard. I think one's being installed at the park, but I don't know the exact location. So that's certainly something that I am working on following up on, because that was brought up last week by someone at the library. So it is a great question.
Thank you, Katie.
Thanks. Kevin, how are you doing with all the vaccination clinics? Your arm getting sore yet?
Yeah, we keep rolling along. You know, we're doing about our 20 to 30 every day in the office. We are having a very hard time, and I'm sure it's no surprise to anybody, getting people to sign up for a Johnson & Johnson vaccine. We had 1,000 doses in the fridge right before the announcement. I think we still have like 925 or so. You know, it's hasn't been moving out the door that fast. But you know, we're still vaccinating every day. You know, I'm setting up another like 52 in Chatham tomorrow to go out the door with EMS, and you know, we're still doing that just about every day. So every day it's a little bit more and a little bit more.
That's great. That's fantastic.
Do we know what percentage of people in Harwich have been vaccinated?
We do. Let me find it. It was high. I think we're close to 70%.
70%?
Yeah. I
No,
thought I had these-
70% of the residents or 70% of all the residents, I mean?
Yeah.
Residents,
So
okay.
the state looks at Harwich as over 12,000 people. It's about 12,900, something right along that. So as long as you're a full-time resident, it will come to us. So it gets a little complicated on Cape Cod where we have so many second homeowners and so many people staying here. So that if you receive a vaccine in Massachusetts, the numbers will count to Massachusetts. But just because you're in Harwich, if your full-time residency is not Harwich, it won't count to our numbers. So we don't totally know, just because it will go, their vaccine will count as whatever hometown they have as their registration. So, but it's pretty good. We're just working on the kids now. Outer Cape's actually working with the schools to have clinics to get the students who are 12 and older, as well as any parents who still need a vaccine. So that's being scheduled this week, which is nice.
That's good. That's great.
It is. Yeah, it's nice that Pfizer got approved for the 12 and older.
Yes, which is, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a key part of making that available to a vast majority of the public was storage. And they have figured out, at least at this point, that the Pfizer, it has to get shipped at like that -70 in dry ice. But once it's there, 2 weeks you have where you can keep it in a regular freezer, which will allow even us health services to start vaccinating some kids as well.
Great.
Fantastic.
When does school get out in Harwich?
I want to say June 18th. I think it's June 18th, right around that at least.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I believe that's, I think Monomoy is June 18th. So they're getting there, 1 month left.
That's it. That's great.
Hopefully next year will look a little different for them.
Better be.
I do have something. We were contacted by UMass. They're looking for some remote unpaid internships. So if anyone can think of a science project for an undergrad to do this summer, they're looking for ideas. Wouldn't cost us anything. So if we can think of anything science related that we might want done, they said they have a few students that would love to have remote projects to do. So keep it in the back of your mind if you can think of anything science related that they could work on for some credit, for college credit.
That's very interesting.
Yeah. What time is it? So we still have 10 more minutes.
If we can incorporate some of them into a little bit of that nitrogen runoff.
Sure. Yeah, we can certainly propose that as part of the fertilizer. Do you have any specific area, just broad and let them choose, or do you have an area?
Yeah, I mean, off the top of my head on the spot, nothing very specific yet, but you know, I think it's the one thing we've all discussed at some point here that, you know, is kind of in that spectrum. So I think we could come up with something a little bit more specific.
That sounds great. It's always nice to have students, you know, learning, and unpaid is even better for us, I guess. Helps our budget. And don't forget, so we have Friday, 10 a.m. It'll be a remote meeting. Those packets went out today, I believe, with all the information.
Great.
Few more
And,
minutes.
normally Fridays are tough. Actually, so far, I should be able to make this one.
Oh, good.
They
Great.
haven't set me up on any vaccination clinics. It's usually Friday. They have me, you know, going out and doing other spots, but they haven't asked me yet. So as far as I know, I'm still on.
I'm sure Thursday night you'll get that phone call. Oh, by the way.
It'll be 5 minutes before I leave work.
That's a good excuse, though. Vaccinating is a good excuse to not be here. Matt, have you guys done any of the homebound? Have you been involved in that at all?
No, not at all. Our department really doesn't do like community health type stuff. We have the college, in our district, so it's kind of like a constant barrage of calls coming from the vaccine site there.
I bet. Yeah, that's true. I didn't think of that. Yeah, we
There's
were
a lot
so
of people
lucky.
that have reactions, that are mild. They think they're having a reaction, but they're not.
More anxiety than anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's been the consensus, just hearing from the county clinics too. Most of the reactions they've seen have been more anxiety attacks or panic attacks, just thinking that they're having a more severe reaction.
I read at least a headline today that confirmed that the vaccine worked even if you had no reaction, which is an interesting comment. I guess we're all talking about reactions, and I guess some people were concerned that they saw nothing, their vaccine wasn't working. So who knows?
Well,
Yeah.
they must have got a dud, right?
You can't outguess what the reaction's going to be.
I was just achy my second one. Not too bad. Not much of a reaction. What time do you have, Pam? Sometimes mine runs slow.
6:55.
Okay.
I can put the clock ahead if you want. No. I'm sorry I keep looking back, but I have watched the cats make sure they don't go at, they push the slider door open when the screen is on.
Oh,
The heavy cat we have, so I'm just once in a while have to look at it.
wow, they're smart.
Yeah.
Just as a reminder, I saw a few new people come on. We're not discussing the mask mandate this evening. That will be Friday at 10 a.m. So if anyone's here for that, that's not this evening. It will be discussed on Friday. And I don't know if anyone watched the selectmen's meeting last night, but town hall will be reopening June 15th. So back open. Right now we're open by appointment only, but we'll be completely open, appointment or not. Still have our lovely plexiglass. That'll probably stay.
Yeah,
We're
it's
going to do
always
all
a
that
good idea.
plexiglass after this is over.
I know
They
someone
melt
is
it down and make park benches out of it, or what do you think?
they were having like competitions to see who could come up with the most creative way to recycle all the plexiglass.
Yeah. Benches.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Does anyone have any ideas for the bottle ban educational piece that they'd like to see?
It's going to be a hard one.
Very.
Everybody's used to plastic bottles.
Yeah, we've been making sure to remind Stop and Shop and Shaw's, especially the two big grocery stores, that they kind of watch their ordering this summer. We don't want them to be stuck with too much.
Any other towns with that?
There are, I think, I want to say Sandwich just passed at their town meeting this year. There are a few other towns. I can't think of specifics off the top of my head, but I do know Sandwich passed this year. And I think a few other towns had last year, the same year that we had passed it. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I want to say there's a handful at least on the Cape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Katie, I'm like you. I had a list of that a couple months ago when it was in front of me, but I think 5 or 6 other towns have done it. I mean, it's not,
Yeah. That sounds right.
But that's a good point. We reach out about what they did in their educational process.
Absolutely. That's a really good idea. We're all on the same boat. So I have 7 on my clock, Pam. I don't know about you.
Good enough for me. Okay.
Do you want to open the first hearing, or would you like me to read it?
No, I think in the past you've read it, and then I say open. I open the hearing.
Sure. So the first one is 8 Ruth Lane, to consider a variance request to upgrade the Title V septic system plan prepared by JC Engineering, Inc. Variances from 310 CMR 15211 minimum setbacks to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 1 foot away from the front property line where 2 feet is required. Variance request of 9 feet. To allow proposed soil absorption system to be 18.3 feet from the existing house foundation where 20 feet is required. Variance request of 1.7 feet. Variance from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow proposed soil absorption system to be 80.6 feet from the wetland where 100 is required. Variance request of 19.4 feet.
Okay, I'll open the hearing. We have someone to speak about this? Yeah.
Yes, my name is Mike Pimentel. I'm with JC Engineering. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So basically, yeah, we have a septic system upgrade that we're proposing for 8 Ruth Lane. Under existing conditions, we have a 3-bedroom single-family home with an existing 1,000-gallon tank and a leaching trench that's located all within the front of the property. What we're proposing to do is to utilize the existing 1,000-gallon tank, put in a new Title V leaching system comprising of a distribution box, 5 LC6 concrete chambers with surrounding crushed stone. So what we try to do is maximize the distance with the SES to the old cranberry bog that's at the back of the property. So by doing so, we essentially put the leaching system right between the septic tank and the front property line. But as you can see, has many tight constraints in the front. We have a water main that's located on the same side of the street as us. So we use that as the limiting factor and try to stay 10 feet away from the water main. We also have a water service line that services the house on the left-hand side of the property. And we maintain a 10-foot setback from that water service. But we couldn't maintain the required setback for the front property line. So we are asking for a 9-foot waiver for the setback from the SES to the front property line. And we're also asking for a 1.7-foot waiver for the setback from the SES to the house foundation, just because of the close constraints of the front property. Couldn't push it farther back from the house foundation. And lastly, we're asking for the local variance to the local Board of Health regulations concerning the setback from the wetland to the leaching system. So what we have proposed is 80.6 feet. So we're asking for a 19.4 foot variance to the local regulations. We did submit an application to the Conservation Commission for the project. They've reviewed it and approved it administratively last week. So we have that approval. We did submit the plan to the Water Department for their stamp, which we received, and I hope Ms. O'Neill received that via email. And so with that, I would take any questions that the board may have.
Okay, I'll close the hearing. Any comments from first the public? Okay, members of the board, do you have any questions?
Nope.
Nope.
Okay, and Katie, what is your recommendation?
So I would recommend a positive motion. I would recommend approving the variance requests with the following conditions: no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. The property shall be deed restricted to 3 bedrooms maximum, and variances and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve with the director's recommendations.
Okay, Matt has made a motion. Here a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Ron seconded. Kevin, are you in agreement?
I am.
Okay, and I'm in agreement, so it's passed unanimously.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate everybody's time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Night.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next one we have is 18 Bobwhite Lane. Before I read this, is someone here for 18 Bobwhite? I don't see Dan Speakman. Dan, is that you? Are you caller 2? With the chairman's permission, would you like to move on to the next one?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So next we have Dan Croto, yep. So we have 4 Eastern Avenue to consider a variance request to upgrade a Title V septic system plan prepared by Moran Engineering. Variances from 310 CMR 15211 minimum setbacks to allow proposed septic tank to be 5 feet from the east lot line where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 5 feet to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet away from the east lot line where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 5 feet to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet from the north lot line where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 5 feet to allow the proposed septic tank to be 5 feet from the crawl space where 10 feet is required. Variance request of 5 feet to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 5 feet from the slab foundation where 10 is required. Variance request of 5 feet. Variances from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow the proposed septic tank to be 36 feet from the coastal bank where 50 is required. Variance request of 12 feet. And last but not least, to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 60 feet from the coastal bank where 100 is required. Variance request of 40 feet.
Okay. Wait, somebody to meet? You're muted.
Okay, is that better? Let's see. So this is 1950s house that's the owners are proposing to remove and put up the new house. The change in the houses does not change the variances needed. As in, if you put a new Title V in for the existing house, we would be asking for the same variances, and we're dealing with the same amount of bedrooms. Right now, there's there is a septic tank. The 50 system was replaced in the 70s. There is a septic tank and a deep leach pit. So improvements with the new Title V would be a much shallower system, much more separation to groundwater. We're also proposing a nitrate treatment unit to help treat, to make the effluent cleaner. This was a requirement or a request of Megan when she had done the site visit, the previous health director, and then also the Conservation Commission. So the Conservation Commission also put a few restrictions on that are helpful for improving the situation, as in landscaping and removing some of the fertilized lawn, or removing all the fertilized lawn, putting in some conservation lawn, and putting in plantings, because this property is close to the wetland, or close to the coastal bank. So with that, I think overall they're asking for a new house, or they're proposing a new house, but they are, it looks like treatment-wise, it's an improvement overall, and I don't think that the new house requires any, doesn't require any variances that wouldn't be needed to improve the existing house. The owners are on the line. I see the names on there also. So with that, I will leave it to questions.
Okay, I'll close the hearing. Any comments from the public? Board, any comments, questions? Okay, Health Director, your recommendation?
So I would recommend to approve the variance request with the following conditions. 1, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. The property shall be deed restricted to 4 bedrooms maximum. Variances and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. The alternative septic system must be under an operation and maintenance contract for the life of the system, and the alternative septic system must be tested and maintained with the health department's requirements for testing.
Thank you. I hear a motion with recommendations.
Make a motion to approve the recommendations that the health director has made.
Okay, Matt is making a motion. Do I hear a second?
Excuse me one second. I'm sorry to interrupt. This is Joe Reese. I'm the homeowner along with my wife, Kathy.
Yes.
The only clarification I'd ask for, I think this is what you meant, Katie, the square footage of the new home that we're constructing.
Correct, with the new home that's referenced in the Moran plan.
Okay, fine. I'm not used to the process here, so I'm sorry for that question. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, no, that's okay. Do I hear a second? Come on, guys.
I'll second it.
Okay, Ron will second it. Evan, are you in agreement with the motion to be passed?
I am.
Okay, and I'm in agreement, and passed unanimously.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so I'll defer to the chair. Would you like to go to 18 Bobwhite or continue to 17 Eastern? I do see Dan Speakman here for 18 Bobwhite.
let's just continue.
Go to 17 Eastern. Okay. Darren, are you on?
I'm on via phone. Can you hear me?
Okay, yep, I can hear you. So I'll read it into the record. This is 17 Eastern Avenue to consider a variance request to upgrade a Title V septic system plan prepared by Myers & Sons, Inc. Variance from 310 CMR 15211 minimum setbacks to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 10.3 feet from the dwelling where 20 feet is required, variance of 9.7 feet, minor provided, to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 3.67 feet below grade where 3 feet is required, variance of 0.67 feet, vent in H20, load provided.
Okay, I'll open the hearing.
Good evening. Basically what we're dealing with is an upgrade of a failed, collapsed cesspool. The property is an undersized property. It's a 4-bedroom dwelling. So we're dealing with site constraints with regards to setbacks. So we were able to fit the tank and the leaching in the backyard. We just need relief from the foundation wall. And because of the plumbing coming out of the house and the increase in grade in the backyard, it's actually put us a little bit deeper than the 3 feet allowed. So we need some relief for the depth of the leaching once it's constructed. We provided for the setbacks with a liner, and also the leaching can handle the 6-8 inches of soil over it, the extra 6-8 inches of soil. Happy to answer any questions.
I'll close the hearing. Any comments from the public? Discussion from the board? Okay. Health Director, your recommendation?
So I would recommend to approve with the following conditions. 1, no increase in square footage or habitable space without further review by the Board of Health. The property shall be deed restricted to 4 bedrooms maximum, and variances and conditions are to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds.
Do I hear a motion to recommend what Health Director stated?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Go ahead, Matt.
Okay, Matt, you've made the motion. Do I hear a second?
I will second the motion to approve.
Kevin has seconded it. Ron, are you in agreement with the motion being passed? Okay.
Yes.
And I'm in agreement, so pass unanimously. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a good evening.
You too.
Okay, so, go ahead. Are you speaking, Pam?
No, I'm done.
Okay. So next we have 18 Bobwhite Lane to consider a variance request to upgrade a Title V septic system plan prepared by Dan A. Speakman Construction. Variances from 310 CMR 15211 to allow the proposed soil absorption system, to be 14 feet from the foundation where 20 is required, variance request of 6 feet. To allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 6 feet from the property line where 10 feet is required, variance request of 4 feet. Variances from Harwich Board of Health Regulation 1.210 to allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 56 feet from the top of coastal bank where 100 feet is required, variance request of 54 feet. To allow the proposed soil absorption system to be 54 feet from the top of coastal bank where 100 is required, variance request of 56 feet. To allow the proposed pump chamber to be 48 feet from the top of the coastal bank where 50 feet is required, variance request of 2 feet. To allow the septic tank to be 39 feet from the top of coastal bank where 50 is required, variance of 11 feet. And to allow the proposed septic tank to be 37 feet from the top of coastal bank where 50 is required, variance request of 13 feet.
Okay, I'll open the hearing. Hi.
Good evening, Dan Speakman. So we're here because this is the new design because of a proposed property transfer. We've got a number of variances, which Katie just read. We've got another one of these tight little lots, a lot of wetlands around here. So we squeezed it into the most practical place that it could go. We've got a liner, if we're just a little bit above grade, we've got a liner to protect the breakout situation. I think we've done everything that we can to mitigate this whole situation. So, I mean, I guess at this point, if you have any questions.
Okay. I'll close the hearing. Any public comments? Comments or questions from the board? Very quiet tonight, guys.
I do want to certainly hear from Katie just on the aspect that looking at the variances, many of these, when you see from the top of the coastal bank, the variance request is a far greater percentage usually of what it's supposed to be. So provided that, you know, Katie agrees with these, I would certainly go along with it. But that is just my one concern looking at the numbers here.
I do. So this lot is actually really, really tough. It would certainly never be buildable today, but it is grandfathered in. It was a failed Title V system, so they are doing improvements to it. They're now not changing the habitable space, not changing any floor plans. If they were adding space in any way, I would certainly request that IA be added, but they're not changing anything to the dwelling itself. They're simply just replacing the failed Title V system. So there is an improvement there. I would recommend approving it with conditions, and that would be to deed restrict the property to 3 bedrooms maximum, no increase or square footage, no increase in habitable space or square footage without further review by the Board of Health, and then variances and conditions to be recorded at the Barnstable County Registry of Deeds. Certainly if they were increasing the habitable space in any way, I would recommend IA, but where nothing is increasing and where they are making an improvement already over the failed system, I would recommend the approvals with those conditions.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do I hear a motion to accept the conditions from the health director?
I'll make a motion.
Ron made a motion to accept the conditions. Do I hear a second?
I will second that motion.
Kevin has seconded. Matt, are you in agreement?
Yes.
Okay, Matt's in agreement and I am in agreement, so it has passed unanimously. Conditions Katie stated.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
Well, that was a nice quick meeting. We already got to everything else.
That must be a record.
I think it might be. Yeah, 7:21. I'll take it. So we'll see you. Well, someone needs to make a motion, but we will see you all. Hopefully you too, Kevin. Hopefully you don't get added to the clinic, but we'll see you Friday at 10.
10 o'clock. Sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn the meeting?
Make a motion.
Okay. Matt has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
I will second that motion.
Good.
Ron has seconded. Kevin, you're in agreement.
I am.
And I'm in agreement. So meeting adjourned. Thank you
Fantastic.
everyone for your time.